Dear students, if reading makes you uncomfortable, or if it happens that words trouble you while reading, or if you think that you are always confused how much of grammar to work on, how much to leave, what to read, what not to read, then this is the right video for you. In the next 30 minutes, I will run through connecting vocabulary, grammar, and reading to give you an idea on what all you need to do to master English for CAT exams, VAT, GD, PI, and life in general. Sit back, relax, learn, and try to implement the things that we discussed today. So let's get started with the session. Interesting thing about this session is we are going to connect three things: vocabulary, grammar, and reading habit. I'm going to tell you what all you should focus on to make sure that you prepare yourself properly for the upcoming exams. Now, article analysis is what I have named this session as. In the first part of the session, I'll talk to you about what all things you should try and focus on if you feel the need to work on your grammar and vocabulary. In the second half, I'll give you a framework which you can work on when you make your reading copy. And later, I'll share with you, as a part of this session, some videos which talk about what to read and how to read for the upcoming exams. This is something which I often talk about in classes as well. So let's get started. All you need to connect in your VA prep: grammar, vocabulary, and reading. Make notes. What you learned today, try to apply it every day. So the first thing, which is a part of your Bfactory curriculum, is grammar ke usul. Some of these more important than the others. I'll focus on the important ones. You can read grammar from any online source or Renan Martin or any of your school books. But what I'm trying to tell you is what things should you focus more on. So let's go through this rule by rule. This theory is from the B Factory content. Rule number one: the order of personal pronouns. So you need to go through the parts of speech. If you feel you are having troubles in sentence formation or fundamentals of understanding, go through the parts of speech once. Uh, it's really beautiful how much difference one time going through all of that again can make in your confidence in reading in the days to come. So the order of personal pronouns is 2, 3, 1 unless it's a case of responsibility or blame where it becomes 1, 2, 3. So if someone says who broke the glass, I say it could have been anyone, but I start with myself. I did it. And then, go to the second person and then the third. So I did it, or he could have done it, or maybe, I, you, or someone else, third person, right? But if it's normally talking about a situation, right, uh, where it's about giving preference, you should keep yourself at the end. So these small errors can happen if we are not very focused about the rules of grammar. Then subject verb agreement is the next very important point, right?
Uh, where do you use plural form of the verb and where do you use the singular form? These are basic things. A small revision. If you think you want a recap or a push in verbal right from basic, and this video is particularly for those of you who feel that need, go through simple articles on subject verb agreement or your books. Rahul plays, but boys play, right? So verbs agree with the subject. This is something you should be very clear about. How do you form singular or plural subjects, or how do you decide? Now, those rules are also important, right? You and I, uh, if I talk about the second and the first person, you and I together become a plural subject. You and I play, right? But he plays. Also, when you get, each or every, they make the subject singular, right? So, some basic rules, go through them, try to make them a part of your thinking. One revision as you proceed in your reading journey will make you feel far better and sharper than before. A lot of things which we have tried to learn sometime in life, or as a part of the school curriculum, quite often we forget things. So a bit of revision helps. Look at the rules, not only but also, either or, neither or, nor, the proximity rules, right? So if there are more than one subjects with conjunctions, right? Uh, the closer one is the one which defines the nature of the verb, right? Conjunctions are connecting words, right? Uh, Now, interrupting phrases along with, together with, the verb agrees with the main subject. Some pronouns everybody, anybody, these are always singular. So these are very commonsensical rules. Try going through the rules of grammar once and make sentences as you learn, right? Let just to give you an idea on what we are talking about. Like, let's take an example, along with or together with. My gang of boys along with me. Now, my gang of boys along with me. So the gang is the main subject here, right? Along with what came is not the main subject. That becomes the secondary subject, right? So these things, identifying the subject and the verb, how it corresponds to the subject, these are very basic things. You should work on these. You can go through the Bfactory study material as well to look at examples, or as I said, back to the school stuff, whatever suits, or go online. Once, 2 3 days on fundamentals of grammar will get you in good shape, right? Inverted verb order, be careful about all those things, right? Proper use of modifiers. Let me give you an example. Like, uh, punctuation might be used. That is what it says. So suppose, there is a sentence like, uh, those who work hard often succeed. Now, those who work hard, comma, often succeed means those who work hard अक्सर सक्सेस मिलता है उनको, right? But if I put the comma after often, those who work hard often, comma, succeed, मतलब जो अक्सर मेहनत करते हैं वो उनको सक्सेस मिलता है. So see, if I don't put a comma either before or after often, the sentence is ambiguous. It is not clear. The meaning of the sentence is not proper. So the structure, punctuation level tak matters a lot. Parallelism is there, right? Next, very simple example. Parallel structure in sentences. I like to play and to run. I like playing and running. Not I like to play and running, right? You know, the form of the sentence, right? One side you are using the one type of the verb, right? The participle or the infinitive. Be consistent, okay? Right. Now, look at the next one. Articles. So go through articles, right? Uh, these are very simple things. A and the, they get used uh, with the sound of the word with which they get attached, right? Uh, A, E, I, O, U. So yeah, we know when to use uh, which kind of article. I'm sure. Also, there are some certain things which take up a particular form of the article, right? Like some examples given here. So go through articles. All right, it's very basic. We all have done these things before, but there's no shame in working around all these things. Maybe an hour every day for the next 10, 15 days, and you will feel very, very, very comfortable when you start reading. Try to fall in love with the English language. You don't have to become a scholar to uh, prepare for exams, but uh, a basic recap of all the things that you have done, studied, which you are expected to study till school. That level of understanding gets highly upgraded if you revise a bit. Furthermore, go through tenses, right? There are types of tenses. We know simple. Leave that first. It's past tense, present tense, future tense. Each of these have types. We all know that, right? Something which is just like a portrait in the present, it's simple present, right? Something which is happening, it's continuous, right? And then there are 4 into 3, total 12 types. So go through that basic matrix, get that clarity. What kind of tense will you use if there's a work which just finished right now? What kind of tense will you use when there's a work which started in the past but just finished right now? Right? I'm sure these lines will strike chords with your memory, right? How we used to form sentences in different tenses. Uh, Quite often, uh, as students, we tend to forget that the basics are equally important. So it's important to go back to basics once, right from parts of speech, articles, tenses, and beyond. Prepositions comes next to mind. Prepositions, uh, these are joining words. They provide meaning, right? And especially in our context, phrases are very important for somebody who has to develop a good understanding in terms of reading. So if the preposition changes, right, just the change of preposition changes the meaning of the phrase totally. Like uh, to win over, right? I'm just giving an example. To win over someone means, to impress or to change the mind, or to uh, kind of get someone in your favor. Uh, Win through something means to overcome the challenges, right? So prepositions are very important. Just some examples, like you get in versus get into, right? Whether you're moving or not, that kind of a difference. So a lot of things in terms of prepositions and phrases are important. Spend a couple of days, that's all it takes to get clarity on prepositions and also the confusing ones, right? Similarity, plurality of nouns, these are important. There are some commonly confused words, also in terms of usage, like practice, practice, right? Some common, word spelling meanings, stationary, right? Words, stationary, stationary, illicit, illicit. So these common things, right? Along with logical consistency and structure, go through these rules once so that you get a clarity on, okay, this is all the common sense that is expected to we are expected to have uh, through all of the schooling that we have done, right from the days of our basics of language formation. A sentence has a subject, has a predicate. Subject is about what we are talking, predicate is what are we talking about the subject, right? What's a phrase, what's a clause, right? What's a dependent, what's an independent clause? Right from there to coming to phrases and idioms, getting a good understanding of articles, prepositions, all parts of speech, verbs, subject verb agreement, understanding of parallel structure, modifiers. This is what you need to be, practically clear on. So, these things, the purpose of this talk is to give you an idea that if you think that you need to really work on your reading and verbal, Spend a couple of weeks, maybe half an hour to 1 hour every day. Just go back to your school books, institute books, online, wherever. Work on these things. That is something which I thought I should guide you on. All right. So, as uh, I talked about before, uh, after what's required in grammar, we'll also try to spend a little bit of time on what's the mantra for vocabulary when it comes to these exams. First, most important thing is learn words contextually. What do I mean? In the exams, you don't have a dictionary, right? So when you are reading, even if you find a word difficult, you have to try to make some sense out of it in the context. So while practicing also, when you're doing your everyday reading, try to guess the meaning of the word that comes in context. Make any educated guess, try to understand the paragraph, and then when you are done reading, then refer to the dictionary and write down the right meaning in your copy. There are some distinct advantages of this method. Number one, you are training your mind in a way that if there comes an obstacle while reading, your mind is habituated to try and guess first rather than getting stuck. This mind toning on a daily level really helps a lot. Number two, if let's say you tried to guess the meaning and the actual meaning when you looked up the dictionary was totally different, you made a blunder. When you correct that blunder, the chances of you learning from that mistake and remembering that are far higher than if you simply get stuck and look up the dictionary. So learning from mistakes, learning from context, these are habits which can be very strongly built in our learning if we make this one simple rule. Whenever I find a difficult word, I'll try to guess the meaning of the word and then look up the dictionary later, rather than immediately stopping and asking for help from a dictionary. Make this habit. Next, as I said in the previous slide as well, phrases and idioms. Go through the phrases and idioms and commonly confusing words. Okay, you can also go through prefix, suffix, phobias, and manias, like common vocabulary word buckets. Right now, these will not directly come in the exam, right? But what is the harm in spending a day maybe just on prefix, another day on suffix, another day on phobias, another day on manias? Try to learn some things which are very basic, right? Just till now, all these things which I'm talking about, a couple of months of sincerely diving into these things can really make you a champion. All right. Okay. uh, Also, sentence formation. Whatever way you are learning a word, uh, try to make a sentence out of it. Now, why so? Because quite often words vary in the nature of their usage, as an adverb, as a verb, as an adjective, etc. Also, you tend to remember if you have used a word before. So to build a stronger memory on what you are learning, try to form sentences. So students, you should make a reading copy wherein you should try, first 1 2 months, try to spend time on grammar and vocabulary a lot. Eventually you will more and more be tilted and inclined towards reading. Your reading will become better, and that is what the entire objective is, right? Okay. So coming to the reading part now, the reading mastery framework. Now this framework, you can use it. So let's say every day you read an article, maybe from the Bfactory Reading Club, or some site like Guardian or Aeon, or some newspaper, offline or online, right? Editorials or a wiki article. When you're reading, keep 2 3 things in mind. One, contextual word learning, as you see, word, guessed, actual. Two, central idea based reading. So, central idea based reading is simply theme based reading, where when you read, you just focus on what am I reading about. Then you can, at the end of the article, give a title if there is not one. And you can also try to say what was, in general, the style or the tone of the author, right? Now, common tone and style words, again, these tone and style words, you can Google them. There are lots of words. Maybe spend one day on each, right? Just noting down some words. but on a regular basis, you can at least try to find out what the tone is, right? Was the author degrading someone? Was he kind of applauding someone? Was he positive? Was he negative? Was he neutral? uh, was the style descriptive? Was he doing a narration? Was he arguing? So basics, keep these things in mind. So your daily reading should be an engrossing exercise, trying to become a cat expert, cat zat, whatever exams, right? When you think like this, when your copy, everyday reading copy, starts getting contextual words, central ideas, tone, style, title, you are on the right track. All right. Also, follow a reading calendar. Now, what that means is on a daily basis, right? Follow diverse kinds of sources. In the next part of this video, I'll share two of my videos where what to read, where to read from, things which I taught in class. Now, this is something which I conducted with my first batch of online students. These videos will give you a very good idea on what familiarity in reading means, what kind of topics you should deal with, right? Which are the sources which you should try? I already mentioned Guardian, Aeon, maybe Economic Times, Hindu, wiki articles as well, right? You can traverse from one blue link to the other. Try to keep a track of daily reading in your copy. If every day you put a date and you read, right, and then you are writing these themes and word meanings contextually, and some tone style, you definitely after 2 to 3 months you're going to feel far stronger than before, and in 4 to 5 months you will be on the right track to achieve. Now these are things which are difficult to do because it demands consistency, not because the process is very difficult. If you go through today's session time and time again, you will understand that the process is very established and clear in terms of what things need to be done to connect this entire web of identifying themes, what things need to be done in terms of improving grammar and idioms, phrases, vocabulary. What should I do? What kind of sources should I follow? You will get a very good idea of what you need to do. Now, what lies next is the point that you need to actually do those things, right? So, important tips here: make a reading copy, focus on grammar and spelling. Every time you write, read, or speak, think like a champion, and keep a learning attitude all the way. All right. With those words, I would say all the best to everyone, and I'll take you to the next part of the session where, uh, in the first uh, uh, part of my training, I mentioned we'll also touch a bit on what to read and where to read from. Go through that part as well, and follow these instructions and these different parts which I mentioned as important in your CAT prep journey.
A very good evening to you all. Today we are here to discuss the verbal reading comprehension section in CAT. Now, CAT has 34 questions in the verbal section, out of which 24 questions come from reading comprehension and 10 come from the verbal reasoning part. So 24 out of 34 is a huge percentage, right? If you look at the whole CAT paper, out of 100 questions, 24 come from reading comprehension, which again is approximately 1/4 of the CAT paper. So reading comprehension is a section which is very important if you want to crack CAT. Now this reading comprehension has two broad aspects. One, how to practice solving questions, how to build speed and accuracy, and two is what to read and how to read. You need to understand what all is required in the first place, what kind of reading needs to be done so that you improve your verbal reading comprehension abilities, right? So this first video is about what to read. So here we are focusing on the what aspect of things. What needs to be read in order to make sure that we do really very good in verbal RCs. Now understand, Reading depends a lot on familiarity. Now, if you're familiar with a particular topic, you will be able to understand it and read it at a faster pace than compared to a topic in which you are not familiar. Let me give you an example. I follow cricket. So if you tell me that India South Africa match के बारे में a preview article is going to come and मेरे को वो read करना है, I'll be very confident कि 2 से 3 मिनट में I'll be able to read that article and I'll be very sure that I'll be able to understand it as well. Reason being, I am familiar with the cricketing terms, I am familiar with the names of the people involved. At the same time, I am also very much, मतलब to a great extent, I will be knowing कि उस article में क्या हो सकता है, right? So the contextual understanding when it comes to reading an article on cricket is very high. On the other hand, if you tell me that a latest stem cell research technology has been developed or stem cell utility has been increased to some particular domain of research and उस पे एक paper publish हुआ है 2 पेज का and I need to read it, I might not be sure whether I'll be able to read it in 5 minutes, maybe not even in 10 minutes. I will not be sure whether I'll be able to understand it at all or not. The reason being, I am not used to reading stem cell technology. I'm not used to reading research papers, right? So the same person can have different levels of understanding, comprehension, speed, and confidence when it comes to reading different kinds of articles. Now, this is the key to build a good appetite for cat reading, right? You need to be familiar with the topic. Now, how do we become familiar with the kinds of topics that are required for cat? A very simple answer. We should know what kinds of topics normally come in cat reading comprehension. If we analyze the last 25-30 years cat papers, the topics are limited. Let me just jot down those topics for you. So these are the 5 broad domains जिससे कैट में मोस्टली रीडिंग कॉम्प्रिहेंशन आता है. एक एक करके उसको समझते हैं. Philosophy is the study of beliefs and theories. Sociology is related to the different kinds of societies that prevail, the classes and the societies the terms colonial rules, Nazism, socialism, communism, capitalism, fascism, so many isms, imperialism, right? तो इन सारे टर्म्स का अंडरस्टैंडिंग. इकोनॉमिक्स, the day-to-day the macroeconomic articles that you get in your newspapers, है ना? Art, literature, culture, again cross-era comparison of different cultures and societies, the evolution of writers, oral and literary styles of writing, etc. Psychology, the way people think, the thinkers, the mind, the left brain, right brain thinking, the meaning of cognition. You have science and fiction, and lots of medical sciences, etc. as well into this. So the point is, most of us are not very familiar in reading all these kinds of topics, especially as students who don't come from these backgrounds. We don't normally read such things a lot. We are often more inclined towards reading things that we like more. Some of us might be following sports a lot. Someone else might be following movies or music a lot. Someone might be very interested in politics. Yes. But these are the topics which mostly come in CAT. Yes? So the key is, let's try to become familiar with these topics. This is smart work. Just think about it. If you read philosophy for the next coming 4 months, 6 months or 10 months, whatsoever time you have for your exams, if an article from philosophy comes, you'll be far more equipped than you are today to understand that article, to interpret it, to read it at a faster pace, and at the same time get the answers correct. Yes, if you have studied something, let's say, if you have an article on, suppose capitalism, and the article there talks about socialism, it talks about let's say imperialism, and you've already studied some things about it, your understanding and your confidence will be far higher than ever before. So the idea is make yourself comfortable with the types of topics which come in CAT. Now, where to get these topics, right? It's pretty simple. I'll give you 2-3 options, maybe a bit more. The first option is, I'm writing it here, a good newspaper and its editorials, right? तो कोई भी एक अच्छा न्यूज़पेपर, let's say हिंदू, इकोनॉमिक टाइम्स, अगर बहुत ज़्यादा प्रैक्टिस नहीं है रीडिंग की तो maybe टाइम्स ऑफ इंडिया, टेलीग्राफ. Keep reading the editorial section. Social, economic and politics, इन पे मैक्सिमम फोकस रहता है एडिटोरियल्स में, तो वो काफ़ी कुछ कवर हो जाएगा. Point number 2, you can follow this, मतलब it's a very known thing, Wikipedia. Yes, lots of us have prepared reading these articles through Wikipedia. When you open a Wikipedia page for philosophy or let's say psychology, उसमें बहुत सारे blue links रहते हैं. Keep traversing through those links and you can keep reading as much as you want. Read about what is psychology, what is philosophy, read about the common philosophers, read about their works. Keep reading as much time as you have. And now, how to read I will be covering in another video which will come at a later stage. Alright? Another source number 3, so we have editorials, we have Wikipedia, if you look at the third one, you can follow the NCERT course books इनमें से जिस भी टॉपिक का अवेलेबल है ना, तो मैक्रो इकोनॉमिक्स का, let's say माइक्रो इकोनॉमिक्स का, या और your graduation course books, that helps a lot. Alright? Fourth, you can also go to the Bfactory website, www.bfactory.in. On that website, there is a free aptitude zone section, जहाँ पर we have handpicked and put approximately 50 different quality links and articles for these particular kinds of topics. So I'm repeating, bfactory.in, उस पर जाओ, free aptitude zone में जाओ, है ना? उस पर click करोगे तो you will get the section articles to read. उसको भी follow करके you can easily practice reading such topics. Right? So it's a very simple thing. The key to building good CAT reading is to build familiarity with the kinds of topics which come. Follow Wikipedia, Google पे सर्च करो, न्यूज़पेपर्स रीड करो, NCERT या ग्राड की बुक से पढ़ो, या Bfactory की साइट पर जाओ, है ना? Read as many such topics as you can before CAT. Your mind will be toned in a proper manner. है ना? When you appear for CAT, when you read a reading comprehension, if you find it boring, half the work is undone. तुम्हारी सारी मेहनत बेकार हो जाएगी अगर पढ़ के लगा कि ये तो बोरिंग है, मेरे को समझ में नहीं आएगा, है ना? You need to make sure that when you are reading a comprehension, वो तुमको interesting लगे, और वो तभी लगेगा जब तुमको उस तरह की रीडिंग की habit होगी, right? So the key is increase your familiarity and prepare well. All the best. Thank you. A very good evening to you all. What we are going to discuss today is how to read in the CAT verbal section. Now, in the last video, we had discussed what all to read. Now, that included topics like philosophy, psychology, sociology, economics, art, science, literature, and fiction. Now, these topics, as I discussed, you need to build familiarity on them, right? So, there are different queries that students have. The first one is, how should I read when I practice for CAT RCs? Second, how should I read when I actually give my exams? Right? Now these two are very correlated, but then they are slightly different in terms of approach. So I'll be taking them one at a time. Right? So have a look here. So what we're trying to understand here is how to read. Right? So let me take a standard paragraph. Let's say you are reading a CAT editorial, or a newspaper editorial, anything, right? So when you start a paragraph, when you enter into a paragraph, try to identify the subject. Now, that means try to question yourself, what did I enter into? What have I started reading? What did I enter into? So suppose there's an editorial which talks about Jharkhand tourism. तो जैसे तुम पढ़ना स्टार्ट करोगे, you will be able to identify कि कौन सा टॉपिक तुमने स्टार्ट किया है, right? Now, once you have got the sense of what you have entered into, then do something what we call selective reading. Start reading fast. The things will automatically get connected to the subject because you have already identified it, right? When you come to the end of the paragraph, again ask yourself a question: what did I read? Now, this is something which will form the theme, right? So the question you are asking in the end is, what did I read? So if you see, when you start, identify the subject. When you end the paragraph, just try to identify the theme. Yes. So this complete thing, identification of the subject along with the theme, is what we call central idea, and this is called central idea based reading. So the way it works is, let's say you start an editorial, you read a paragraph. Once you read a paragraph, at the end of it you know what the subject was and what the theme was, right? So let's say I read a paragraph. Let me give you an example. Suppose there is an editorial about pollution issues in Ranchi, right? So अगर अपन सोचें ये आर्टिकल लिखना है तो कैसे लिखेंगे? As a writer, you'll think about you'll think about a structure, है ना? You'll start with, let's say, by describing a few lines about the city. Then you'll give a few lines about the different kinds of industries and infrastructure in the city. Then you might talk about the pollution issues in the city, the problems faced. And in the next paragraph, you might be talking about the different sources of these pollutions. In the next one, you might talk about what the government and the society is doing to resolve these issues. Then you might talk about the possible recommendations, right? So there is a flow to any given article. Now, as a reader, when someone reads this article, he or she should be able to identify that flow. Now, how does the person reading identify the flow? It is by this central idea-based reading. So when, as a reader, I start reading, I start a paragraph and I feel, okay, what did I enter into? I entered into something called pollution in Ranchi, right? Okay, I complete the paragraph and then I say, okay, what about it? What did I read about it? So I read about the different types of pollution. Yes? So the central idea-based reading is something different from paraphrasing, in which you try to read and understand each and every line. Here, how things happen and why did it happen is not something very important. You're more focused about the what's, right? What did I read? What did just happen? What was important? So trying to identify the points as you move along a given passage is the way you need to read. One, it helps you in building a stronger memory, a stronger recollection of points that you have read in the flow of the passage, because you need to read fast. And two, it also helps you remove the unnecessary thing. Selective reading का मतलब है there might be lots of jargons, lots of things given which do not matter a lot to you, right? तो उनको हटाने में भी help करता है, ठीक है? So this is the method. When you are practicing, whenever you start a paragraph, identify the subject, identify the theme, and keep moving. Clear? So lots of people say the way it works is, at the start of the paragraph, read the first line and try to understand वो क्या था. जल्दी जल्दी आगे बढ़ो, read the last line and think अब क्या था, है ना? So the way it works, the CAT comprehension में कैसे होगा in the actual exam hall, the way we do it. I start a passage, ठीक है? Let's say the passage has 3 paragraphs, alright? So I'll just now elaborate how to attempt a comprehension, how to read it in the actual exam. Just a moment. Now see, what happens in the actual exam hall, you stare at a passage, right? Now, let's say the passage has 3 paragraphs, P1, P2 and P3. So you need to read this passage, and on the basis of this passage, you will be answering a few questions, right? So when I read, I have 2 points in my mind. I enter, I end. I enter, I end. है ना? तुरंत से पढ़ा subject, theme, subject, theme, subject, theme, right? So this is central idea 1, central idea 2, central idea 3. इतना लिखते हुए, इतना short में, you don't need to frame sentences. Let's say 4 to 6 words each, है ना? इतना लिखते हुए अगर आगे बढ़ोगे ना, तो क्या होगा जब तुम पैराग्राफ या पैसेज को एंड करोगे, you'll have a very clear snapshot of what all have you read, है ना? This is the key to reading fast, not getting stuck with the difficult things in a passage, and at the same time becoming very proficient in solving comprehensions, right? So this was the core of how to read, how to prepare when you are preparing for CAT. One more thing I would like to add on is when you are preparing, जब भी तुम पढ़ रहे हो, जैसे विकिपीडिया से पढ़ रहे हो, नॉवेल्स पढ़ रहे हो, एडिटोरियल्स पढ़ रहे हो, always keep an eye on contextual word learning. Now, central idea based reading important है, but then अगर आप language को ही नहीं समझ पाओगे अच्छे से, तो you'll never be able to become an expert in reading articles, right? So, contextual word learning का मतलब होता है जब तुम जैसे कोई पैराग्राफ पढ़ रहे हो, तुमको कोई word नहीं आया, do not directly try to go to the dictionary and look at the meaning. Try to guess the meaning. So whenever you are stuck, the first step is guess the meaning of the word. Now ये क्यों? क्योंकि एग्जाम हॉल में nobody is going to come there and help you out. वहाँ पे डिक्शनरी नहीं होने वाली है, ठीक है? But अगर आपको गेस करने की हैबिट होगी, गेस का मतलब क्या होता है? सेंटेंस को पूरा पढ़ के समझना कि वहां पर कंटेक्स्ट के हिसाब से उस वर्ड का या उस फ्रेज का क्या मीनिंग हो सकता है, ठीक है? So that will tone your mind in a proper manner. So first step, guess, and then of course use a dictionary. In your exam prep, a dictionary should be your best friend. तो उसमें कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. I'm not saying do not use a dictionary, but I'm always saying whenever you get stuck, try to guess, try to identify the context when a word is being used. Now this will help. All right. So this was about how to read. Let me summarize this once. The reading has to be central idea based, right? Enter a paragraph, leave a paragraph. Be careful. बीच में जल्दी जल्दी पढ़ो, है ना? When you are preparing, make sure in a passage. Try to guess the meanings of the word or the phrases that you are not able to identify. Keep a dictionary handy. अगर वो नहीं समझ में आ रहा है जो वर्ड या फ्रेज आपने गेस कर लिया है, स्टिल नहीं श्योर नहीं हो, डिक्शनरी निकालो और उसको चेक करो. इस तरीके से जब तुम वो गिवन टॉपिक्स जो हमने डिस्कस किए थे उस पर वर्क करोगे कंसिस्टेंटली, मे बी हाफ एन आवर डेली, मे बी 1 hour डेली, डिपेंडिंग ऑन हाउ मच टाइम यू कैन स्पेंड ऑन इंग्लिश रीडिंग, है ना? तो बाय द टाइम 2-4 months pass, you will see कि your reading appetite becomes far stronger than it was ever before. It's all about toning your mind in a proper fashion. Just one simple example to end. Just think about you reading an article on Hume's philosophy right now. The word itself scares you, most of us, right? Hume का philosophy अभी समझ में आएगा नहीं आएगा, we are not sure. But just for example, let's say you have been spending one whole month on reading such philosophical theories. And then I give you, let's say 50th article which is on Hume's philosophy. You'll be far more confident कि तुम उसको समझ पाओगे. Reason, context तुमको better पता होगा philosophy का. Second, word meaning से familiar होगे जो उस तरह की theories में use होते हैं. Right? So make yourself stronger. This is a very smart way of preparing yourself for CAT comprehensions. All the best. Thank you so much.